Ken! You are muted.
Sometimes I'm magically unmuted, so I just assume.
Yeah, actually, at the end, it's supposed to unmute you, but no, it will not unmute you if you muted yourself.
I see.
Yeah. And I started the video. I think that's how it works. Anyway, notice anything different?
Were you able to get the black border?
Yep.
Nice. How did you do it?
Isn't it so much nicer?
It's so much nicer.
I just took the little metal piece out and banged it on the other side. So.
Okay. I see you were able
But
to.
it's so much nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give the other one to Rabbi Wagner probably, if they want it. How have you been?
I've been good. Things are good.
How's the baby?
The baby is good. We were out for a weekend, like an Airbnb. It was his first trip. He did pretty well. He liked it. He was very cozy. It was his first pack and play adventure, so it was nice.
So we've been doing this for a year now, maybe more.
Way more, yeah.
Now imagine if your son was already a year old. Yeah. Like that's how quickly it's gonna go.
Yeah, and he's already 4. Yeah, and he's 4 months plus all the 9 months. So yes, it's definitely more than a year.
Yeah, but like in 8 more months, he's gonna be walking and he's gonna be saying Abba, or are you gonna be Abba, or are you gonna be Daddy, or are you gonna be
Abba? Probably, yeah.
Abba. Interesting. Okay, we should probably start.
Okay.
I believe it's your turn.
Let's do it. Okay, this one is a doozy. It's long. Let's see how we get there. Okay, so we talked about Nikiut. And now we're talking about the details of, I guess, is it how they achieve them? But no, just the details of Nikiut, not Nikiut. So the details of Nikiut. פרטי מידת הניקיוט רבים מהם מאוד. There are a lot of details when it comes to cleanliness, which is the third midah, or attribute or trait. ואינם ככל הפרטים שבכל השסה מצוות לא תעשה. And they are as numerous as the
365. That's how you remember.
365, right? Oh, really?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that there are more than the taseh. So I know that it's 365 mitzvot, commandments of what not to do.
Yeah.
That's probably a better term for that. Ki omnam inyan hamidah kvar amarti. Because the purpose or what this trait is about, we have already spoken about. Shu liot naki mikol anafei averot, which is to be clean from all the different branches of the transgressions.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to have to say something about this because it's so hilarious. So RJ says cleanliness is, they say, close to Hashem. So one of the somebody was playing with GPT back in the day, and he sent me a transcript where he had asked, "What does Judaism say about cleanliness?" And ChatGPT had created a quote from the Talmud: "Cleanliness is next to godliness."
Really? That's
yeah. So. In ChatGPT's Talmud, there's a quote: "Cleanliness is next to godliness."
It's not too far from the intention. Intention might be right. However, אף על פי שבכל העבירות משתדל היצר הרע להחטיא את האדם. Even though in all of the transgressions, all of these actions, the evil inclination does whatever it can to make man sin. כבר יש מהם שהטבע מחמדם יותר. there are transgressions that our nature is more inclined towards, or we are more. I want to say covetous, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That the nature is more covetous about. I don't know why. I don't know how you can put that. ובהן מראה לו יותר היתרים. ובהן מראה לו יותר היתרים. And in this one, the evil inclination can show man more ways in which you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah, you can figure out, I'm doing this because, and it's okay for me to do this because.
Right. In Hebrew, or in Israel, really, in Israel, there are two terms that kind of connect to that, one more than the other, which kind of tell you a little bit about the bad aspects of Israeli society. But kombina and chaltura. Chaltura, I don't know what language that's from, either Arabic or Aramaic, I guess. But kombina is like, you do something for me, I'll do something for you. It's like, kombina. And chaltura is like, it's more close to this, where it's like, you can make a mess of it, but it doesn't really matter. Just make a chaltura, something like that. Anyway.
Okay. And RJ, as always, making jokes about Daf Goy PT.
Yep. אוקיי, אשר על כן יצטרך בהן יותר חיזוק, אשר על כן יצטרך בהן יותר חיזוק, לנצח את יצרו ולהינקות מן החטא. So like we said, the evil inclination for some transgressions, because our nature is more inclined towards them, it can give us more ways of fudging it.
Yeah.
Doing them. So those we really need to be strengthened to win over the evil inclination and to be cleansed from the sin. And this is what our sages said in the Talmud in Chagiga. גזל ועריות נפשו של אדם מחמדתן מתאווה להן. Stealing and sexual immorality, the soul of a man covets those and desires those. Covets and desires those. והנה אנחנו רואים, so we can see, שאף על פי שלא רוב בני אדם גנבים בגילויהם, even though not all people are,
so most people are not,
they don't steal, and they're not, at least not plain, they don't steal in plain sight, at least.
Yeah.
דיינו שישלחו יד ממש מממון חבריהם לקחת ולשום בכליהם. אף על פי כן, they won't go and grab something from their friend's belongings, and they will put there in their stuff. אף על פי כן, but however, רובם תואמים טעם גניבה במשאה ומתנה במה שיראו היתר לעצמם.
להסתכר איש
בפסודו של חברו ויאמרו להרוויח שאני. So most of them, even though they don't just directly steal from their friend, when they do business, they might say, well, for this it's okay because this is my livelihood, and I can, my friend might lose a little money, but I can make a little bit.
Yeah, להרוויח שאני. It's different when you're talking about business. Yeah.
Interesting. ואולם להבים הרבה נאמרו בגזל. להבים הרבה. What's להבים?
להבים is prohibitions.
להבים. love. להבים הרבה נאמרו בגזל. So there are a lot of prohibitions that have to do with stealing. לא תעשוק. Do not ta'ashok. Do not.
Ta'ashok, I believe, is what you call it?
To hold somebody, like holding somebody.
Well, they're saying it's. I mean, they just translate it as steal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we can actually look in Shamot 2013, see what it says. Look, no, this is Lo Tignov. Why they? I have no idea why they.
Tashok,
if I remember correctly, has to do with pledges, taking pledges from people who you lend money to, but I might be wrong about that.
Okay. Lo tigzol, which is I guess more like gezel, like.
Oh, I must have been looking. Yeah, commit to theft such as do not oppress. Lo tashok. Yeah, tashok is oppressing people who borrow money from you.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was thinking lo tigzol. Okay. לא תגנבו ולא תכחשו ולא תשקרו איש בעמיתו. You will not steal, לא תכחשו, and you will not lie. Well, תכחשו is you will not, I don't know what the...
Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so you said...
לא תכחשו is maybe you will not pretend that you didn't steal.
תכחשו...
Or say that no, I didn't steal. Right?
I think it's moving the boundaries of your land. Okay, I think that's what they mean. Yeah.
So that's a different use of that word. לא תכחשו ולא תשקרו איש בעמיתו. No, I think it's לא תשיג גבול רעך. I don't think it was referring to that. The boundary.
If I was better at this...
Lakhish is to deny. So you will not deny, maybe deny.
Oh, maybe in a court case?
Yeah. Because King Solomon says, then he says, woe to those that are rich because they would forget God, and woe to those that are poor because they would yekakhshu.
Yeah, so this is so he's actually quoting from Vayikra 1911. What's Vayikra in English? Vayikra 19.
Deuteronomy? No, not Deuteronomy.
Leviticus. 1911. So here it says, "Lo tigonvu velo tichashu velo tishakru ish ba'amito." You shall not steal, neither deal falsely, nor lie one to the other.
Yeah.
So that's how they...
So something with pleasure, like saying something, having a false account.
I'm sure the Gemara looks into this stuff much better than we did. We just did.
Lo tonu ish et achiv. You will not deceive your brothers, your brethren. Lo tasig gvul re'echa. You will not encroach on your neighbor's land. Second. Some traffic in the room. En kol ele chilukei dinim shebagezer. These are all the different divisions within when we talk about stealing. Oleli masib rabim. They include a lot of different action deeds. מן המעשים הנעשים בכלל המשא המתן והמתן המדיני ובכולם איסורים רבים. מעשים רבים, מעשים הנעשים בכלל המשא.
Medina here means city.
So these are divisions of theft which apply to many common business transactions, and each one includes many prohibitions under it.
Yeah.
Common means city, okay.
Yeah, Medina back during his time referred to the city, and I think by Medini he meant things that happen locally.
Right. כי לא המעשה הניכר ומפורסם בעושק ובגזל הוא לבדו איסור. Because it's not only the deed, or it's not only the obvious and infamous kind of oppression and stealing that is prohibited. אלא כל שסוף סוף יגיע אליו ויקרום אותו, כבר הוא בכלל האיסור. Everything that might lead you to oppress somebody or to steal from somebody, even if it doesn't look like it from the beginning, then it's...
Actually, Lynn gave a really good example of this with gambling and betting and stuff. Mm-hmm. So gambling, like, especially, I mean, you go to a casino, that's not really stealing. But when it comes down to it, the rabbis explain, especially the way Maimonides explains why a gambler is pasul edut. So it's mm-hmm. not like it's an actual love, but we don't accept such a person as a upstanding member of the community. Hamesachek bekubia, like the Talmud says. And what Maimonides explains is that the person that they bet against, did the betting in the hopes that they would win. So yes, they agreed that if they lose the bet, they'll give the money, mm-hmm. but really, in a sense, you're stealing from them, right?
Yeah.
So it's not clear stealing, but it's still something that you shouldn't participate in.
It's a good example. ועל עניין זה אמרו זיכרונם לברכה. And on this matter, our sages said in the Sanhedrin, in the Talmud, ואת אשת רעהו לא טימא. And the wife of his neighbor, he did not
defile.
שלא ירד לאומנות חברו. אומנות חברו, he not encroach about his fellow's trade. So that's one way to, that's an interpretation of how they interpret the wife of his fellow.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Interesting. The trade.
Yeah.
Omanut. Yeah, omanut is also in female, a female noun, or how do you say it? Masculine and feminine. Feminine noun.
Yeah. Feminine noun. Yep.
וכבר היה רבי יהודה אוסר לחנווני. And also back then, Rabbi Yehuda would make a matter prohibited to anybody that has a little store, a shopkeeper.
Yeah.
שלא יחלק כליות וגוזים לתינוקות לרגילן שיבוא אצלו. That he should not, every time a baby comes or a little child comes, he would give them some nuts or candy so that, so they come back again and they buy more and more and more and more. ולא התירו חכמים, and also our sages did not allow, אלא מפני שגם חברו יכול לעשות כן. Our sages did not allow this because the other sages only permitted it because his competitors could do likewise. Interesting. So some rabbis did permit.
So Rabbi Yehuda said he's not allowed. The Rabbanim did allow, but they said, well, I mean, other people would also do it. So
that's
it's advertising. What can you say?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had this discussion. It's kind of off topic, but I guess we don't go into as many tangents as we used to.
We used to do a lot more tangents.
But I've been in a lot of discussions that I've had. We keep hitting this thing about the ideal and how sometimes you can't. The ideal is not what is it's not the law. The law is not the ideal. Because sometimes you have different context, right? So sometimes you need to do something that's considered bad just because it's the lesser of two evils, or because maybe in that particular situation it might be actually good. Maybe divorce. You can think of divorce maybe like an example of that. And also, I had a discussion with somebody about a recent parasha when it talks about the clothing of the Kohen, of the high priest, and how it's beautiful and majestic, and God gives a lot of details about it. So the inevitable question is like, why is this? And I don't know if it's in the parasha says, but a lot of commentators talk about say this about like, why is it needed? Like, why are the clothes needed? Like, why do the people or the high priests need to have any clothing? Couldn't he just do what he does and have the passion that he has, and the importance would just be visible? Obviously, it's the house of God; it's important. So yes, that's the ideal. You don't need all that stuff. And he doesn't need to look like a physical king. But for the people, it's important for them to understand that this is important. So they need a signal, and so we make clothes. And that's for me. That's it's all kind of related. You have an ideal, but in the real world, you need to figure out a way to strive towards it, and compromising without losing the fact that you're moving towards a specific thing. Because some people that I talk to about this, it makes them think that, well, if the ideal is impossible, or if there's different ways, sometimes something is good, and sometimes like mostly something it might be bad, like divorce. But if in some situation it's good, then what is the ideal? Is the ideal really there, or is it something that's more relative? Anyway, I don't know if you have any.
So I mean, I often say to Christians, better is better than worse, and worse is worse than better, because they often feel like any sort of compromise, either it's got to be, and which reminds me of a story. There were some reform preschools, which for the schools, they were putting the mezuzah low enough so the kids at the school could kiss it.
Yeah.
Right. And the Rebbe was very against this. He said, no, we teach our kids the mezuzah has to go where it has to go. It has to be in the upper third, because that's what the halacha says. And what we do is we raise them up to kiss the mezuzah, not the other way around.
Right.
You don't change the ideal. You always have to recognize the ideal, but I mean, bediavad, what is in. We live in the real world. Yeah, that's what it means. That you have to, the Jacob's ladder. The head of the ladder is in the heavens, and the bottom comes all the way down to the ground.
Right. It's good. Okay, continue. V'amru zichronam levracha. And also our sages said in Bava Batra, Talmud, kashe gezel hidyot migezel gavoa, שזה קדים חטא למעילה וכולי. So yeah, stealing from another. Oh, that's different. Okay, stealing from another person is worse. I'm reading the translation because I didn't figure that. Stealing from another person is worse than stealing from temple property. For in the former, the word sin precedes the word betrayal, and the opposite in the latter.
I guess that's where they learn the the verses from. But yeah, I mean, basically the thing there is, people realize that it's a sin to steal from God. They don't necessarily realize that it's a sin to steal from God.
Right. וכבר פטרו את הפועלים העושים אצל בעל הבית מברכת המוציא וברכות אחרונות בברכת המזון. And they already פטרו. They likewise exempted hard workers from assigning the motzi, blessing over bread, and from the blessing of grace after the meal, ברכת המזון. And they likewise says, I think I can. I need to.
Yeah, I think this is because they there are certain things that people who are working wage workers are at least in the Gemara it says they are patur from,
right?
because they would be taking away from their from the person who pays their wage.
Right, so they don't have to say it,
Yeah.
so they don't get to a situation where it's as if they're stealing it. Because also, I mean, I think one of the reasoning for saying the bracha before is because it's the rabbi said it's like stealing. So even though it's not from the Torah to say a blessing before, that we have it just because we don't want to look like we're stealing something from God. We want to bless it before when I say something.
I never learned the sugya, so this is actually news to me, but I will believe you and the Ramchal.
I think I remember that. I've heard that various times. So I don't think I'm making that one up, but yeah, there might be others, but this one I don't think so. ואפילו בקריאת שמע לא חיוום לבטל ממלאכתן אלא בפרשה ראשונה בלבד. And even when it comes to the blessing or the Shema, the sages did not require the day workers to stop what they're doing, their work, and they could only say the Shema only the first verse, because if they say the whole verse,
again, there's three parshiot. There's three parts of Shema, but they only required the first part.
Right, because if they read the whole three, it might look like they're stealing time. I'm assuming. קל וחומר בן בנו של קל וחומר. What does that mean? לדברי הרשות.
The mother of all Kal V'chomers.
Okay, Kal V'chomer. This sounds like he's from Netanya a little bit. Kal V'chomer ben bno shel Kal V'chomer ledivrei rashut. So even more so for things that are just like, personal matters that you shouldn't do while you're on the job.
Yeah.
שכל שכיר יום אסור בהן שלא לבטל מלאכתו של בעל הבית. That a day worker, an hourly worker, should not do personal things.
Shouldn't sit there on the internet while he's supposed to be working.
Right. ואם עבר, הרי זה גזען. And if he didn't, then he's a thief.
Oy.
הנה אבא חילקיה. Here is
Abba Chilkia, I'm guessing.
Father Chilkia, Abba Chilkia. אפילו שלום לא השיב לתלמידי חכמים שנתנו לו שלום. I remember this from Ta'anit. He didn't even say hello to the Talmidei Chachamim, to the
scholars
that greeted him. שלא לבטל ממלאכת רעהו. Because he was doing work for his friend and he didn't want to waste his time saying hello to them. ויעקב אבינו עליו השלום, and Jacob, our forefather, מבאר בפיו ואומר, also explain this. הייתי ביום אכלני חורב וקרח בלילה ותידד שנתי מעיניי. He said, in the day, heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes.
I think this is when he was talking about Lavan working for Laban. Yeah. Lavan ha'arami.
מה יענו אפוא העוסקים בהנאותיהם בשעת מלאכה ובטלים ממנה, או כי יעסקו בחפציהם איש לביצעו. So what would the people that occupied themselves with their personal desires and personal habits while they were on the clock? And what is what is that? How does he translate that?
Right? B'sha'at melacha It's the time they should be working, and they didn't do the work.
Right. They give up the work. Or if they occupy themselves with their own affair, each person to his own gain. Own pleasures? Okay. So he's saying either or, in a sense, kind of similar. I don't know what distinction he makes there, but yeah. כללו של דבר, the principle is, השכור אצל חברו לאיזה מלאכה שתהיה. Whoever is working for his friend or somebody for whatever מלאכה that he's doing for him, whatever work that he's doing for him, הנה כל שעותיו מכורות אין לו ליומו. All of his hours, the time that he's working is measured. כעניין שאמרו זיכרונם לברכה. Like our sages said in Baba Metzia in a Talmud.
Good job.
Yeah, I was trying. שכירות מכירה ליומה. שכירות מכירה ליומה.
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 For that day.
Right. So שכירות מכירה ליומה.
Hiring a day laborer is like being sold for that day.
Interesting. וכל מה שיקח מן להנאת עצמו באיזה אופן שיהיה, אינו אלא גזל גמור. And whatever you take and do for your own pleasure at that time, it is like complete stealing. ואם לא מחלו, אינו מחול. And if your employer did not forgive you, you are not forgiven. שכבר אמרו רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, our sages already said in יומא, עבירות שבין אדם לחברו, אין יום הכיפורים מכפר עד שירצה את חברו. They said the transgressions between a man and his fellow. Even Yom Kippurim, the atonement day does not atone for them until your friend forgives you what you did. ולא עוד, אלא שאפילו אם עשה מצווה בזמן מלאכתו. And this is not even this, we're not done yet. Because even if you do a mitzvah, if you do a commandment while you are hired for the day, לא לצדקה תחשב לו. It will not be counted for you. אלא עבירה היא בידו. It will be counted as a transgression. שאין עבירה מצווה. Because there is no transgression that is a mitzvah, that is a positive commandment or a mitzvah. וקרא כתיב, שונא בישעיה, in Isaiah, שונא גזל בעוולה. בעולה. שונא גזל, so you cannot bring a sacrifice that you stole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am God who loves justice and hates theft in an offering. Where are we? There we go.
זה אמרו זיכרונם לברכה בבא קמא, and בקניין זה, and this is also what the sages said in בבא קמא, הרי שגזל שיער חיטים וטחנה והפאה ומברך. אין זה מברך אלא מנעץ, תכתיב ובצע ברך ניעץ השם. So when you are blessing something, a piece of food that you stole, you're not really elevating or blessing. Really, you are blaspheming, or menaetz is almost like you're digging into God or something.
Yeah. And I mean, they're kind of saying like, even if he stole some wheat and then he did all the work to turn it into bread, right? All of that follows the fact that he stole.
Right. So you think, okay, I stole something, but I stole something, nothing. It's not that valuable. Maybe even it's wheat, a piece of wheat or a bunch of stalks, and then I put the effort and I made them into something, and I put it and it looks nice, and now it's actually valuable. Even that is like, if you stole it, if it began from something like that, then it cannot be blessed. ועל כיוצא בזה נאמר. And it was also said in the Midrash, Oy lo leze shenesa sanegoro kategoro. Woe to those who their friend.
Sanegor and a kategor are they're like judicial terms.
Mm-hmm.
So kategor is the prosecutor and the sanegor is the defender. Think of it like the attorneys, right? And it says, woe be to the person whose defense attorney is the prosecutor.
Right. This is also why the high priest doesn't wear gold when he goes into the Holy of Holies, right?
Correct. Yes. And that's why we can't use a cow's shofar for for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Because it reminds God of the sin of the golden calf.
וכמאמרם, זיכרונה לברכה, in Yerushalmi Sukkah, and also in the Jerusalem Talmud, בעניין לולב הגזול. This was also said about somebody bringing a lulav that he stole.
Yeah, lulav is used during the holiday of Sukkot. Yeah.
והדין נותן. And justice will be given, I guess.
Well, reason. This is reasonable.
Okay, reason. Din, reason.
Yeah, hadin noten means we in the Talmud is used for things that you can figure out through reasoning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. כי הרי גזל חפץ גזל. כי הרי גזל חפץ גזל, וגזל זמן גזל. Because when you steal an object, you stole it. And when you steal time, you also stole it.
Yeah.
There's no way about it.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. מה גוזל את החפץ ועושה בו מצווה נעשה סנגורו קטגורו. So like we saw that somebody, when he steals an item and he makes a mitzvah with it, that item becomes becomes his prosecutor.
Yeah.
Even when you steal time for a mitzvah, that also is something that will prosecute you in the future.
Yeah. They also did the defense attorney prosecutor thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to guess that sanegor and kategor is in Aramaic.
Yeah. Actually, I think it comes from Greek.
Greek?
Yeah.
Cool. ואין הקדוש ברוך הוא חפץ אלא באמונה. And God is אין הקדוש ברוך הוא חפץ אלא באמונה. God desires
faith.
Sorry?
God desires faith.
Faith. I wasn't sure if the translated God only desires faith or he mostly desires faith.
No, I mean only
faithfulness, honesty, אמונה, or faith. וכן הוא אומר בתהילים, and likewise it was said, or King David said in Psalms, אמונים נוצר השם.
Faithful keep God.
Faithful.
Oh, God keeps those who are faithful.
ואומר ישעיה, and it also was said in Isaiah, פיתחו שערים ויבוא גוי צדיק שומר אמונים. Open the gates and there will come a righteous nation, a righteous and faithful nation.
Yeah.
ואומר, and it was also said in Tehillim and Psalms, עיניי בנאמני ארץ לשבת עמדי. עמדי. And it was also said, my eyes upon the righteous of the land who sit with me.
Yeah, the faithful of the land. Yeah.
The faithful, right? ואומר in ירמיה, in Jeremiah, I guess. How do you translate
Jeremiah?
Jeremiah, right? And it was also said in Jeremiah, Enecha alo le'emunah. Are not your eyes towards faithfulness?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good job.
Yeah. Ve'af Eiyov eid al atzmo ve'amar. And even Job commented on himself and said, Im tite ashurei minei ashuri minei aderech ואחר עיניי הלך ליבי ובכפי דבק מאום.
I have no idea how you translate that.
If my step has turned aside from the path and my heart has gone after my eyes, and if any speck has stuck to my palms.
Okay.
I guess.
Im tite ashuri mini hadarech v'achar einai halach libi.
Okay.
Kapai dabak me'um.
I can understand that now that I read that.
Yeah, so, after the translation, you can look.
Yeah.
That I've been doing Job, and basically, like, yeah, it's after the translation I go back and like, okay, I think I can see it.
Yeah. So I guess he's talking. Job talks about the things that might lead for unfaithfulness.
I guess.
Right. To steer away from the road, from the path, that your eyes will go over your passion, it will go towards your passions. Will go according to your passions.
Or something stuck to my hands, I guess, like if I had sticky fingers, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, here he will explain. And look how nicely put this metaphor is, mashal, I guess. That it shows that in this metaphor, the hidden form of stealing are like something that gets stuck to somebody's hand. It's always there. שאף על פי שהאין האדם הולך לכתחילה ליטול אותו ונשאר דבק מעליו. ליטול אותו ונשאר דבק מעליו. Because even if a man did not
deliberately
pick it up and did not want to do anything to do with it, sof sof biyado hu, if it is in his hand, if it reached him, ken hadavar hazeh, meaning that it will stick to you. It will have an imprint on you in whatever fashion. שאף שלא יהיה אדם הולך וגוזל ממש, קשה הוא שיהיו ידיו ריקניות ממנו לגמרי. Because even though somebody didn't really steal it, it's very hard that his hands will be cleansed if he touched that thing. Kind of reminds me of, in heist movies. I remember as a kid, it was always like, every time somebody needed to, like, you couldn't use the cash that you stole because it's traced.
Right.
It's traced. Whatever. And so, like, even if you take money, you didn't even steal it from the beginning. If you then end up using it and it can be traced to you, it's like you use money that's tainted, that's traced.
Yeah, it's been yeah. I hear you.
Okay. Omnam, however, באמת, in reality, כל זה נמשך ממה שתחת היות הלב מושל בעיניים שלא יניח להיות נעים להם עת של אחרים. כל זה נמשך ממה שתחת היות הלב מושל בעיניים. Okay, so all of this happens, I think I understand this, but I don't know if I can translate it rightly, but all of this happens because your heart rules over your eyes.
Yeah.
שלא יניח להיות נעים להם עת של אחרים. Oh, that it makes you see other people's possessions or success, and it makes you
here. This is how they translate. In truth, all this is due to his eyes drawing his heart instead of his heart ruling over his eyes, thereby not allowing them to see as pleasing the things belonging to other people.
I stand by my translation, even though it took me a while.
Okay.
המושל בין אשר החליט להם נעים לשלכם. העיניים מושכים את הלב. לבקש היתרים על מה שנראה להם יפה ונחמד. And also the eyes could, I guess in reverse, your eyes can pull your heart or rule over your
well, that's what he means. Yeah. So he was saying all of this is because your heart isn't ruling over your eyes, rather your eyes are ruling over your heart. If your heart, if by heart he means reasoning and your soul.
Right. You see, I've been reading too much Tanya, so I can associate that.
Well, I mean, even in
Tanya, right? Halala Yamani. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so like yeah. It is what it is. But I mean, the Torah says lo tatur acharei
right.
That's
what I was thinking about too, actually. So I was so it's a little odd, I guess. No. So maybe you can see. Well, we can see the translation too. What time is it? It's decent. We might need to stop soon, but we can keep going for a little bit. Go Davak. I'm curious here. All right. So the fact, but in truth, all of this difficulty results from the fact that instead of the heart ruling over the eyes, so as not to permit the property of others to seem appealing to them, the eyes influence the heart to seek rationalization for what looks nice and cute.
Correct.
Interesting. That was hard. Al ken amar Eiyov. And on this, Job said, "Shehu lo ken asa velo alach libo achar einav, al ken lo davak bekafav me'om." And this Job said that he did not go astray, and his heart did not go. It was not ruled by his eyes, and because of that, nothing got stuck to him.
Yeah. How much further is there? That was on 18.
Yeah, we have
and
good amount.
This goes. Let's see. 11 goes all the way to. Wow. 11.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's a good place. I mean, this might be a good place, but I mean, I can think.
Really? 171 paragraphs in this? Okay.
Like he said, there's a lot.
We're at 18. Okay, I guess this chapter is. Wow. Okay. We were on 18. And my
your Sapphire is bad, but I can still see you.
I don't know why I'm having connection problems. It's not just Safari either. So how come I can?
We're on a different level. We're connected.
Apparently, yeah. Like, yeah, my Discord is gone. I think somebody's trying to tell us something.
Okay, so we will continue for the next few weeks with chapter 11.
Yeah. God works in mysterious ways, guys. I don't know why some of my internet is working and some of it isn't.
What's on maybe AWS is down. So whatever's on AWS is down, and StreamYard is on something else.
It might be something like that. Yeah. I'm guessing it has something to do with addresses. Addresses. Whatchamacallit? Resolving DNS addresses. Resolving possibly.
So. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to read. So I don't know if to recap this, but yeah, we discussed the details of cleanliness, and we will continue talking about them. And we really talked about now how to clean yourself from stealing, both that looks obviously like stealing, which is probably more connected to zirut, to the first, to just being watchful. That is something that you should have dealt with. But here you want to deal with anything that might lead to stealing that doesn't look like stealing. That you don't think, well, it's okay. And maybe like business dealings, which is always tough. Because it's a lot of pomp and circumstance, if I'm using that term, right?
Here we go. My internet's back on. Kind of. Maybe. Hopefully.
I mean, we were here the whole time, but yeah, okay. So
I don't know what, it must have been something with DNS.
Yeah.
Resolving, because it didn't happen until I tried to use the URL.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still not resolving. Come on. Okay. Rather than sit here and try to get the internet to resolve, I will let you go, and I will go do stuff, and we will continue this next week at 19.
Yes.
Okay.
Goodbye. Happy Purim.
Don't do anything we would do. Yeah, Purim's coming up, so happy Purim, everyone. Watch, that doesn't work. It keeps on streaming forever.
We can't end this. I can't leave like this. Should I try to end this stream?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's actually ending the stream.